Good afternoon, everybody. I'll give everybody a second to get settled. If you can put your video on, we would appreciate seeing your face, but understand if that's not an option for you, of course. I will go ahead and get started and introduce myself and kind of give you the lay of the land, and then we'll introduce everybody else that's with me tonight. So, my name is Kendra Kelscher. I am the program manager for Student Affairs and Enrollment here at the MCW School of Pharmacy. I've been with the School of Pharmacy for 10 years. I've been with MCW for going into my 18th year. I previously worked with our medical school, both the Milwaukee campus, and I worked with building the regional campuses in central Wisconsin, and Green Bay. So I have a lot of knowledge with graduate programs, admissions, and enrollment. So for tonight, we are going to talk about your first year, what to expect in pharmacy school. We have a lot of great content. We have some great pharmacy students with us tonight. So we have a lot of topics prepared, but I think what we'd love to do is kind of organically talk about questions maybe that you guys have for us. And then if we don't have a lot of questions, we can fall back on some of the content that we have. But first, I want to turn it over to our students to introduce themselves. So if you guys could just give your name and what year you are, and then we'll kind of start from there. And I'll take back the mic and start. So if somebody wants to go first.
Yeah, I can go. Hi guys, my name is Nasreen. I'm a PY2, technically transitioning into PY3 soon, because our curriculum is a little different. It's more fast paced. But yeah, I'm excited to answer all of your guys' questions.
Hi, my name's Ariel. I'm also a PY2. Um, I think fun fact would be I got lost on a volcano one time.
That
Um,
sounds terrible and scary.
Survived, so it was fun.
Hi everyone, my name is Adam. I'm also BY2, same class with Nisreen and Ariel. Um, Fun fact is I am originally from New York, so I'm here.
Guys, I didn't know we were doing fun facts. I'm sorry. I
No, it's okay.
forgot.
I didn't really say that. So that's okay.
Okay.
You didn't miss that. That was fun though. Do you want to do a
Okay.
fun fact?
I have a cat.
That's fun. Cats are fun.
They are.
Think I need proof. Are you gonna go get your cat and prove it?
Yeah, prove to
I
us that you
will.
actually have a cat.
I'll grab him at some point.
Also, actually, another pharmacy student who's doing better than all of us.
Did I did we miss anybody or are we good?
I think that's
Okay,
all
perfect.
of us.
Awesome. Okay, so does anybody off the bat have any burning questions that they wanted to get answered? Is anybody going to be brave? No?
I guess I could ask a question.
Yeah, please.
So what would you say your favorite part of like the first year is?
My favorite part was just getting on rotations. Um, so I had kind of a non-traditional route to pharmacy school. Um, I didn't know I was going into pharmacy. I actually thought I was going into research and pursuing a PhD. So for me to actually be able to get onto rotations and like during classes by the second session, I found that the most enjoyable because it also kind of validated that I had chosen correctly. Um, but yeah, and also just like being able to feel like you're being helpful and doing the work. Um, it's rewarding.
So I'm actually the complete opposite of Ariel. I enjoy didactics 10 times more than hands-on stuff. So I think what I liked, and I know this is going to sound weird, but I liked being challenged. Undergrad and grad school are completely different like worlds. I liked I kind of like the rush of like, oh my God, we have so much going on. And like being able to tackle it and then finishing the session off, like, I'm like, wow, like I did that. And it feels, I know you're gonna be like kind of exhausted by the end, but like it feels so good. Like you finish like on a high. When you're on break, you're like, wow, you know?
Um, I'll also add to what Ariel and Nisreen said. So basically for me was the fun thing or the enjoyable thing that I'm out of the state. So trying to find some things like enjoyable here in Milwaukee was like also with studying at the same time was like a good thing to me. It just keeps me like if I am like I can't do it anymore and my head is just can't take it. I'll go down and I'll just leave my house and just go around, try new places and even new people because like I'm not from here, so I got to know more and like also from my classmates too.
That was a good question. I wanted to do a follow-up question off of that. For the first session, you guys, um, how did you feel the pace was different than if you came like pretty much off of undergrad? Like, did you feel like it was really significantly different? We do try to tell students that it is a lot faster paced than undergrad, but you guys obviously have now experienced that. So, what was your experience, um, you know, after session one? Like, was it like, oh yeah, this is a lot faster than I thought, or was it a lot more manageable than you thought?
Something that helped me was in undergrad, I finished it in 3 years, rather than like the traditional 4 years. So going and like into summer, not having a vacation is not something new to me. So, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to force anyone to like do it, but if you can, kind of like mentally and emotionally go into it. And I know like sometimes like finances are a thing for people, which is totally understandable. But I think if you have the option to do 3 years, I think it gives you a little bit like of a taste of like what grad school could be like, or like our program.
I can add to what Nisreen said too because basically I had my high school also for like I did it in 3 years here. So like I took 10th and 11th grade in the same year. And also undergrad I did like double majors. So I was like but the main thing I want to add is like the faculties here. You're not alone, and they're always helpful. Their offices are always open. You can just go anytime. If you're missing anything, you can just go and ask, and you'll find more than one person able to help you and willing to help you. Plus, the faculty is like the class above you is like will be, which is us, BY2. Um, I feel like the class was like the 2026 we were lucky with it. They were also helpful and there are a lot of things to use like tutoring and so the good thing is just to end this that you will never be alone. You always get the help that you need.
Did not expedite classes before this. So I did 4 years of high school, 4 years of college, and then I actually worked for 5 years. So I can't really tell you whether or not, like, compare how my undergraduate workload went to my compared to this current workload, just because I had that time in between. And there's always like a little bit of sugarcoating, I think, that happens in your memory of like, well, I managed it then. Um, but I will say, like, in general, though, I knew going into the program that it's going to be a 3-year program. That's a condensed version of a standard 4-year program. So it is fast paced, but I don't necessarily think that it's like more work. It's a lot of independent motivation though. So if you are a chronic procrastinator, like I am, you have to be able to hold yourself accountable and like set goals for yourself and say like, I need to get this much studying done by this day, or I need to have this assignment done a week before the official due date is, because then it gives me a week to go around and make sure my answer is accurate, or just like it gives me a week because ultimately I probably won't get it done a week ahead of time, and then I can be like, I'm behind schedule, but really it just means I'm going to get it done in time or something like that. So you I would say like, but this is just kind of in general, like going into a graduate program, you want to know your work style and what gives you the best um, setup for success, I guess. Um, so I'm not sure where you guys are in your education and like enrollment right now, but if you don't have that figured out and have a like have ideas of how to organize your assignments or how to schedule your time and stuff like that, this is the time to start like figuring that out, exploring different styles. Even like let's say I feel like in my undergraduate they like really pushed Cornell notes and I tried it and it just could not work for me. So Cornell style notes. So like even that kind of thing where it's like now is the time to figure out what is the best way working for you in the future, because trying to do that and also doing class is going to be difficult. Um, it's feasible. I know some people have done that, but like it's just an added thing that you don't really want to be figuring out while you're also trying to readjust to just the new program in general. But yeah, but also, you're getting survivorship bias from all three of us because we, we made it. So of course, we're gonna be like, oh yeah, it's manageable. Um, but
Yeah.
yes.
I do want to add something to what Ariel said. Um, I always like kept saying the first year, it was never the content, it's always the pace. Like, trust me, like the professors do a great job and like you have your like peers and your friends around you. Like so definitely like you'll get the content down. So like you just have to figure out a schedule for yourself. And then another thing that I just want to mention, like Ariel said, I don't know where you guys are in your undergrad, but I wanted to share like my personal experience. It's never too late to like figure things out. I felt pretty unmotivated. Kind of in the middle of undergrad, I felt super exhausted because it was fast paced for me. But by like the end of senior year, I honestly like picked my GPA up and I like figured my life out. So like I just want to say if you guys are like taking OChem and you're like, oh my God, like I'm sick of this, like trust me, like you can turn yourself around. Like if only you guys knew my my situation. So like don't give up.
So we kind of nicely transitioned into sort of talking about time management and study strategies. Um, can we talk a little bit more about how you guys adjusted your time management and study strategies during that, not even just first session, but maybe that first year and kind of got in your groove, found people that maybe studied the same way as you, or maybe you found that you didn't want that and you liked to do that alone. Kind of maybe can we have a conversation about how you worked through that?
So initially I found myself kind of, I don't want to scare you guys and say drowning, but like I was like, I've never experienced grad school before. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm going to save you guys time. Like for those who like are set on this program, please listen to the professors when they say focus on XYZ. Don't waste your time trying to study. Like, of course, you need to know everything. But like, for example, learning objectives at the beginning of the presentation, like I never took those serious until halfway through. I like started doing the learning objectives and I would go through them. And then I'm like, oh, that's the whole lecture condensed in literally like 3, 4 objectives. And it saves you time so that like sometimes you're just not going to have time to cover everything and you need to like pick your battles. So I found myself like drowning in work and I was like, I need to have a personal life too. I need to go to the gym. I want to like have a job. I want to do this. And so I would like resort to like study guides, learning objectives. I didn't listen in the beginning, guys. Please listen when they tell you to like use those resources. Like they're there for you to like help you study efficiently. At least that's like what freed up my time.
Yeah, I also kind of ignored the learning objectives. The first time they came around, I was like, this is a waste of our time. Like, why are we spending 5 minutes on essentially a summary of the lecture? Like, I can figure out a summary of the lecture once the lecture starts. But it is like I will actually go back with friends for exam studying and like we'll write out the lectures and then we'll just kind of talk about it. So it'll be like three or four of us and it'll be like, okay, potential treatments for hypertension or something like that. And then it's like first line, we have these options. Why would we do this? Why would we not do that? Blah 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 blah. And then okay, second line, third line, stuff like, and you just start to like chat about that. And I mean, this again gets into like what style of studying do you prefer to do, but it's a great framework to work off of and figure out like what do you know, what do you not know. And then also like getting into what Nesreen is saying, like there are some cases where there are just so many details. There's no way you're going to remember it all. So going to those objectives and being like, okay, so for this lecture, they don't mention anything about memorizing dosage. That's something to make a note of actually and say, and because even in the like I think that was one big thing that I had. I don't know about you guys, but like going in, I'm like, I have to know every single point. And then you're sitting there and you're like, I can't know every single point. That would be nuts. Um, so you would then have to kind of like sit there and go, all right, what things can I not have to memorize and still like be fine, pass the exam and also be a good pharmacist? And there are things there. It's like, yeah, I'm not gonna have to remember the dosage for alendronate if you've got kidney failure or something like that, unless I'm working in that field. So that's something that like I'm not going to remember the dosage of that because if it does come up and I'm not working in that field, I can just reference it and it's fine. Nobody's going to be like, you're a bad pharmacist, I'm firing you or something like that. So there's like certain things where you have to sit there and be like, okay, is this actually going to be functionally useful for me to memorize? Um, but yeah, that kind of also gets into sometimes I think that was one big thing that I kind of had to figure out in first year. It's just like sometimes you just gotta be okay with not necessarily meeting the highest standards that you have for yourself. Sometimes you just have to be like, yep, that was rough, but but we got through it. It was a learning experience. So, what about you, Adam?
Um, I totally agree with you. And I think the first comment I said to myself was like, we all first semester or first session, we all ignore the learning objectives. And then we noticed that it's very important. Um, but what I was gonna say is there's a lot of study ways that out there. Um, each person is different. Every person is just have their own way. I'm gonna talk about my personal like personality. First, I tried the study group, and then I tried study with one person. Then I tried to study alone. And my study way, I like to talk to myself. I like to write on like everywhere. And it's my apartment. Like if anyone comes to the apartment, you'll see like notes all over the walls and just write on the paper and just tap it on the wall. And just I go to exam, I remember that this sentence and this question, I wrote it somewhere in the house. So this is my way. And I have to read the questions out loud to myself to like figure out. So My advice is just every person have their own way, so find your own way. There is no wrong way. If it works with you, do it. No one will judge you. Just do the way you think you will fit you, basically. And as Nisreen said, Quizlet is God saver. Yep. Quizlet, I agree.
I'm sorry, I keep sending you messages and I've
Totally.
been meaning to send them to the big chat. I'm sorry.
Nope, Quizlet are great. Quizlet too, and there's a lot of ways, but the only thing it matters to find your own way. And don't think about people, what they gonna say, what they gonna judge you. Just do your own way. If it works with you, it works with you. Just for it is what it is.
MCW has a lot of shared resources as well, and we go over those at orientation, but we strongly suggest that students reach out to those resources right away. Even if you think you might not or you might need them, it's always great just to meet with them and see what support they might be able to provide you. They do a lot of time management help, study skills. We have tutors. I'm sure I'm missing a lot of other things, but it's there for you to use, free of charge, and it really can't hurt. So, what can hurt is getting help too late or not at all. So, we definitely recommend, utilizing those services early and often, reaching out for help from your professors. I'm sure the students can speak to that, but we have wonderful faculty that are more than willing to meet with students really whenever they're available to. Um, the faculty really just want the students to succeed. So, um, everybody really does. So we don't want, students to be failing or worried about something or stressed. So, whatever we can do to help students, we will do that. Any other questions that you guys have before I kind of go to our next topic at all? I want to make sure that your questions are answered. Oh yes, counseling too. Students do get a number of free counseling sessions provided by MCW, which is such an amazing benefit that we provide. And we do go over that as well at orientation. And you can schedule that there's like an online portal to schedule that. And that's just an amazing, amazing benefit. They have also upped that over the years in terms of how many sessions students get, which is fantastic. So, yes, that is another huge benefit for students. Any other questions that the students can answer that you guys have been wondering? I can also answer any like admissions or enrollment questions if you guys have any of those as well. But the next topic that we have on here is kind of finding balance between like social life, school life, and then also utilizing your support system while you're in pharmacy school, which is so, so important. Does anybody want to start with those topics at all? Or how did you guys kind of lean on your support systems while you were starting school, or even now?
Yeah, I am married to my calendar. Um, like I will schedule in time. I have to like send out invites to my friends and be like, "Yep, we are actually hanging out this month at this time from here to here and blah blah blah." Because like I think it's really easy to just kind of sink into this never-ending list of, oh, I have these assignments, and then if I finish up the assignments, then I should go back and review this topic and like rewrite my notes for this and this and this, and there's always going to be something to do. And it's like you have to keep reminding yourself that you have to take time for yourself. And it comes down to different people, right? But like I have to be able to see my friends and just have social time to just completely pull back from being a student and like being in pharmacy school and just kind of that time to like just turn your brain off. Um, so I have to schedule it. Otherwise, I'm like, no, I like pharmacy school obviously is priority for me because I paid all this money. I better finish it. Um, but at the same time, like you want to finish it, not a broken person. Um, so trying to figure out what keeps you happy and healthy and motivated to keep doing the work is really important. And so for me, seeing my friends, but also just having time to like do a craft or go work out or try a new restaurant or something like that is also really important just to keep that balance and keep you from like becoming sinking into a hole of like pharmacy school is my whole life. Which is a major part of my life, right? But at the same time, you don't want all form of satisfaction and happiness to just be pharmacy. Well, I don't. I don't know about everybody else, but I don't. But yeah, so I do that by putting everything in the calendar and being like, okay, from this time to this time, I'm not thinking about that. I'm not thinking about all the different things I have to do for the clubs and how many emails I have to send out, blah, 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 blah. I'm just thinking, oh, this new show sounded cool. So I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree because I actually had a moment like that this morning where okay, so we have patient care lab and in year two it really amps up and compared to year one. And there's just so many assignments and I looked at my friend and I was like, "You know what? Next week Thursday I'm not studying. We're going out." And like you just have to force yourself. Like it is what it is. Like of course like Ariel said like don't slack off with your work like as long as that's like being maintained pretty well. Like you just have to force yourself and put in the schedule and be like, the same way you wake up and show up to class is the same way you're going to wake up and show up for yourself and go out. Because if you're not taking breaks, I feel like you're not going to do as good in school because you're going to just be so burnt out and so tired. Another thing for me, obviously, like everyone has different backgrounds, but like sometimes I'll lean on like more spiritual things or like my family. Like I'm very blessed to be able to come home and like hang out with my family and like if you have that like you should lean on them and like even if you're like you have your own apartment or you're dorming or whatever it is like FaceTime your sorry FaceTime like your parents or your siblings. Like I know it sounds silly in the moment and like we're all adults, but I swear those like 5-10 minutes of just like talking to your parents, like when you decline, like you'll feel so relieved and it'll make the biggest difference.
Actually, Nisreen said what I always do. Like, I have that time of like when I wake up early, before I go to school. So basically, from my house to here, like it's almost 30 minutes. So I use that time to FaceTime my family, my dad, my mom, just to make sure everything is okay, just everything like that. And one other thing, I basically force myself at the end of each day, I just have to take a walk around. And the 2 weeks break, like the 2 weeks that we got break and every like the end of the session, that's like basically my only source to like recharge for the next session. So basically I have to like when I finish the finals on let's say Wednesday, my flight is at Wednesday night. I go to New York, I just don't schedule those 2 weeks for anything. But I like as I agree with Ariel, like basically just those 10 weeks, you basically want to schedule everything. You also want to give yourself like to basically to be able like to just calm down and just rethink about yourself a little. But at the same time, you don't want to take too long and just forget about school and material too. So you're basically trying just to balance between both. But the main thing, if you can give yourself like just a break and refresh your mind, you won't be able to study, to be honest. So this is how I see it. So it goes back to the same point. You'll find your own way. Just I heard people reading after class, they that calms them down and just refresh their mind. Music. When it's cold, I just when like the here in Milwaukee, the weather is amazing. So especially in winter, there's no storm, there's nothing. I'm just kidding. And so basically, I just drive with my car, have my window a little open, and music, and just drive around the city too. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys, great answers. Obviously staying focused in school is great, but you are all right. If you only focus on school, I can guarantee you all you will burn out. So you do have to take time for yourself. Um, So bravo to all of you for doing that and making yourself a priority. I know that a lot of our students, I think most of our students really do like the 2 week break because it is enough time to recharge. Maybe a little longer would be nice, but it's 2 weeks. But you still are able to stay in the groove of school enough without slipping too far back, and then it's easier to kind of jump right back into it, um, versus kind of taking the whole summer off in a traditional program, and then it is really difficult to get back into it when the fall comes, and then, again, taking that whole summer off and then fall again, getting back into it. So I think that the schedule is kind of nice, for an accelerated program, still getting those 2 week breaks between sessions. So awesome. Any questions from anybody? Just checking in again. We have about 20-ish minutes with our students left here. I just want to make sure we're answering any questions you guys have.
I just want to add something. If you guys have
Yep,
questions, you can just put it on the chat and we will read it
yep,
too.
absolutely. If you don't want to talk, that's totally fine. You can drop it in the chat. And if you guys, students, if you feel comfortable, if you want to put your emails in the chat for people, if afterwards they have questions, you can. I'll also put our pharmacy email in there as well. You don't have to put your personal student emails if you don't want, but we can also do that with the pharmacy email and then farm out any questions if they have that way as well. So I think we're almost done with our questions here. Oh, the last one. So the last one is, what are your honest perspectives on what surprised you most about year one in pharmacy school?
It's okay to like not know stuff. Like I think for the longest time, like I entered pharmacy school and everyone comes from different backgrounds, like I jumped in right from undergrad and some people worked for like years like as a farm tech. And I'm like, wow, like you know so much stuff. And like some people are gonna just be more experienced and like that is okay. And it's honestly maybe not even until year two where you start piecing things together when you start doing like therapeutics and less like background stuff in a way. Um, it's okay to not know everything and everyone's there to support you and it'll all just click in your head one day.
Yeah, I definitely will say actually to move away from first year, going into second year, I was talking to some of the first years about some drugs and they were asking questions and I like answered and then I walked away and I'm like, oh my God, I knew that a year ago from now or like a year from the earlier, no idea. And it's just like you will definitely have moments where you're just like, wow, I actually acquired things. But because I mean, like obviously we enjoy the program and everything, but it is quick, very fast paced. So like you get through and you're like, okay, I learned a lot. How much is actually gonna stick? But then like for second year, it's like I'm talking to some students and I'm like, oh wow, it didn't stick. That's great. Um, but yeah, and then yeah, definitely with Nazreen, like I think one thing, and it kind of depends. So with going back to like my favorite thing was rotations. Kind of depends on what preceptors you get, things like that. But I had some preceptors who would just like keep asking me questions until you got to the point where you're just like, I have no idea. And I'd walk away being like, wow, I'm dumb. What am I doing? And then I'd get feedback from them and they'd be like, yeah, you're doing great. And like, you had said some really interesting, like really tough questions and stuff. And I'm like, that's great because I was like, wow, you should have known that. You already had the antibiotics class. You should have memorized that. And it's like, you know, again, it's like you have to realize that you're just not going to know some things, and sometimes you just won't be able to fit it all in your memory. Or even like it'll just be days where you're like, oh, I didn't get enough sleep or something, and like 20 minutes later, you're like, wow, how could I have forgot? Like, how could I have not had that answer on the top of your head? Like, I think my biggest thing for year one is, have high expectations for yourself, but also be kind to yourself. Remind yourself that you are an accelerated program, that like your own health and happiness is important, and that it's not, in some ways, it is like a race to the finish, but at the same time, it's a long distance run, and you have to be able to keep that energy up and going. And to do that, you have to also like keep checking in on yourself and keep yourself kind of maintained.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think, you have to be kind to yourself, and I think every day is not going to be great, and especially, preceptors, faculty, staff, everybody wants you to succeed. And so everybody's just trying to push you just enough, but you also, the students have to be, you know, kind and realistic with themselves. So that's great. There was a question in here. How is the class schedule? So can somebody just go over briefly kind of what year one looks like for classes?
I can go. So basically the first two sessions you were just taking, like you will take the basic classes like biochem and anatomy and genetics and stuff like that. So it's basically just the classes start basically sometimes from 9 and we finish classes at 4. The good thing is that like the faculties they basically and the professors they share the slides with you before the classes start. So you get to like if you're a type of person that you like to read the slides before you get into the class, that helps so much. Like it helps me personally. Like I just want to know what do we get to talk about. And we're taking pharmaceutics. Yeah, you're taking pharmaceutics also, and you're getting with that class at lab. So what you do in the class, you just get to participate in the lab, which is I see it very excited, and I love the pharmaceutics 1 and 2. And I think so basically the first class we start from 9 to 11:50. So like every 15 minutes you take like 10-minute breaks, and there are like professors they give you the 10-minute breaks. There are no overlaps. And you take from 12 to 1, that's the lunch, and then you start your class from 1. You start the second class from 1 to 4. Same thing, every 15 minutes you take the 10-minute breaks. And the first session, you'll start learning like what's the difference between IB and ABI and like everything like that. And then you start your rotations from the second session every Friday. And that's very it. I think if someone wants to add something else.
We'll just add your schedule between session can vary a lot. So like for example, the very first session, you're basically having exams every Monday and Wednesday after the first 3 weeks. And so so this is kind of what we mean by like it's pretty fast paced because you will get to a point where you're just like, I'm constantly taking exams. Um, but then in second session and basically the following, you're only going to have one exam every Monday. And I say only, but now I'm sitting here saying it and like it's still a lot. Um but and then it kind of depends like once you start your integrated sequence courses. So for the first like half a year, you're kind of going over basics, biochemistry, pharmaceutics, anatomy and phys, stuff like that, just to make sure that you have a good baseline knowledge. But then once you get into the integrated sequences, um, then the schedule is going to change a bit because you're actually going to get 5 hours of that lecture each week or of that class each week. So you have, it's kind of like less classes because you're having two really big classes, if that makes sense. But yeah, so like, I don't know about you guys, but mentally, each session feels like it's a different pace. Ultimately, though, you do standardly fit that 9 to 4 schedule, but it varies every session just based off of what classes you have. And then for like the second years, we have electives. So some people aren't here on Tuesdays and some are, and it varies. But also
Awesome.
did want
Any,
to add, so we were
oh yeah, go ahead.
saying that like you have to make sure you maintain your health and like your happiness and things like that. And the professors and the instructors and like administrators and everybody in the pharmacy school acknowledges that as well. It's not just like us as students saying like take time. Like they also want you to as well. So like if you are struggling, let's say you're because that's another thing. So you go into a new class and you might have to study differently because the content is slightly different. So like studying between pharmacology and therapeutics can be very different depending on the person, just because it's like trying to remember like function or just straight up memorizing brand names or something like. But if you're struggling to fit enough time into study or something like that, or you just can't figure out the most time efficient way to study, um, our instructors are very comfortable with you just going up to them saying like, I need help. This is like I'm struggling trying to retain this information or process this information, and I can't spend 10 hours or 20 hours every week just trying to go over the content so that I know I understand it. They completely agree. And they're like, I'm pretty sure we've had instructors say, like, if you're spending more than an hour trying to figure this out, you need to contact me. I don't want you spending more than that much time or something like that. So they're very understanding. Oh yeah, the fail/pass grading. Basically, it can vary between class, but essentially you're going to get a grade, and then if you're over 75%, you pass. That's the like simplest answer.
Just adding to what Arya said. So basically, it's from 75 to 92. This is you're basically passing, and from 92 to above, you're getting honor grades. And less than 75, you're basically failing that exam or that quiz. And so basically, just the 75 is our lucky number. So it's basically above 75, you're good. Less than 75, you're failed. And 92 is basically the honor that we're looking for.
Awesome. Thank you.
That
Any,
answered the question on that.
oh, can you retake is another question.
I'm not sure about the new program that you will retake.
Yeah.
I
So,
think
yeah, does somebody
I
have?
was gonna just say off the top of my head, I think you can remediate final exams with a cap, like it's capped. I don't know about the regular like
Exam.
bi-weekly exams that are embedded within the course. I
Yeah. Yes. So, the reason why we're all like, they just changed the policy for the PY ones this year. So, there's a new remediation policy, and this year students are able to remediate during the 2 week break. But there is a limit on that remediation policy. So yes, the answer is yes, um, with caveats. And I can explain more, but the answer is yes. Yeah, of course. Any other questions for our students or me? If there are not any other questions now, I know in the chat, if you scroll up a little bit, the students have put their email addresses. I also put our um, general pharmacy inbox, and I will also put my email address as well. And please feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions, either later tonight or if you think of anything after. We are more than happy to answer any questions. I also have a link on the website that you can schedule either a Zoom or in-person tour or a meeting with me as well. So please feel free to do that. I also do prereq evaluations if you're planning on applying soon. We can always meet to discuss kind of your plan. That's always really helpful just to make sure that you have kind of all of the courses ready to go. So wherever you are in the process, we can always kind of just look and kind of plan that out. So anyway, if there isn't anything else, thank you so much for coming tonight. Also, thank you to our students for taking time out of their evening to meet with us and answer and share your insight. It is so, so appreciated. And I hope everybody has a great night.
Thank you guys.